Welcome to the explainer. You know, every leader asks this question at some point. Why do some teams just click? And others, well, they just don't. Today, we're diving into Patrick Lencioni's The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team to give you a really clear framework you can use to figure out what's going on and, more importantly, start fixing it. Let's get right into it.
So Lencioni kicks things off with this, well, pretty bold claim. He says the single biggest advantage any business can have isn't its strategy or its tech or its funding. It's teamwork. And why? Because as he says here, real, genuine teamwork is both incredibly powerful and almost shockingly rare.
And that, of course, brings up the big question, right? If it's such a game changer, why is it so hard to achieve? Why do so many of our teams seem to struggle with it? What is actually getting in the way? Well, the answer isn't some super complicated business school theory. Lencioni says teams fail because they stumble into 5 very natural, very human pitfalls. The key thing to remember is that they're all connected. To really get it, we've got to build this model from the ground up. Okay, so let's dig in. Everything, and I mean everything, in this model is built on one thing: trust. If you don't get this piece right, honestly, nothing else we're about to talk about even matters. This is the foundation of the whole pyramid. And look, we're not just talking about the kind of trust where you know someone's competent at their job. Nope, this is way deeper. We're talking about vulnerability-based trust. It's that feeling of psychological safety where team members can actually be human, where they can say, I messed up, or I need help, or I don't know, without fearing it'll be used against them. And you can see the difference here. It's like night and day, really. One team is wasting all this time and energy on office politics, on hiding their weaknesses, on holding grudges. The other team, they're channeling all that energy into actually getting work done because people feel safe enough to be open and honest. As a leader, which team do you want? Yeah, this quote really nails it. When your team is afraid to air their dirty laundry, everything grinds to a halt. You get these dreadful meetings where everyone's walking on eggshells, carefully managing their words. And forget about innovation. Nobody takes risks when they're afraid. So you can see how this is a chain reaction, right? That lack of trust, the foundation, it's the root problem that then directly fuels the next 2 dysfunctions. Together, these 2 act as the team's engine, an engine that can either power great debate and clear decisions or just stall out completely. Because think about it. If you don't trust the people in the room, conflict doesn't feel like a healthy debate about ideas, does it? It feels like a personal attack. So what do teams do? They avoid it. They create what Lencioni calls artificial harmony. And you know what that leads to? Boring, pointless meetings where nothing important ever gets decided. And naturally, if you're avoiding that healthy conflict, you stumble right into the next problem: a total lack of commitment. If people feel like they didn't get a chance to weigh in, to have their opinions and ideas heard and debated, they're not going to truly buy into the final decision. They might nod along in the meeting, but deep down, they're not on board. It's not about consensus. It's about being heard. So you end up on one of 2 roads. Dysfunctional teams, man, they are just stuck in this endless loop of ambiguity. They keep rehashing the same decisions over and over because there was never any real buy-in. But great teams, they find clarity through conflict. They argue, they debate, and then they commit. And once the decision is made, everybody moves forward, together, without second guessing. All right, so you've got your engine running now. Conflict and commitment. But, you know, an engine without steering, well, that's just a fast way to crash. And that's where our last 2 dysfunctions come in: accountability and results. Think of these as the guardrails that keep the team on the road. Look, it's just human nature, right? We don't like having those awkward, uncomfortable conversations. And it becomes almost impossible to hold a peer accountable for something when you weren't even sure what you all committed to in the first place. How can you call someone out for missing a standard that was never clearly set? This quote from the fable in the book, it just captures that feeling perfectly. That hesitation, that reluctance to challenge a teammate even when you see their behavior is hurting the entire team's ability to succeed. You can almost feel the tension in that room, can't you? And this is the final boss. The ultimate dysfunction. It's what happens when everything else falls apart.
If there's no accountability, people's focus naturally drifts away from the collective goals of the team and onto their own individual needs. Their ego, their career, their department's budget, the team's results take a back seat.
And the result here is pretty black and white. One team just stagnates, gets easily distracted, and this is so critical. It loses its best people. Why? Because achievement-oriented people cannot stand to be on a losing team. The other team, though, they enjoy success together, and they become a magnet for even more talented people. So there you have it, the full pyramid. You can see how one dysfunction just cascades right into the next. But okay, knowing the model is one thing. Actually doing something about it? That's the real challenge. So where do you even begin with your team?
The good news is Lencioni doesn't just leave you with the theory. He gives you some really practical, pretty low-risk exercises to get the ball rolling. You can start building that foundational trust with something as simple as the personal histories exercise. Or you can start driving accountability with the team effectiveness exercise, where everyone gives feedback on what their peers do that helps or hurts the team. Look, all 5 of these dysfunctions are connected, for sure. But here's the thing. On your team, right now, one of them is probably causing the most pain. It's the biggest bottleneck holding you back. So as you think about this for your own team, here's the real question to ask. Which one of these is our most urgent problem to solve? Identifying that single starting point, that is the most powerful first step you can take.